It is Wednesday night again. This is the Wednesday Night Mouse Party. And tonight we've got Gizzard Gary with us. How's it going, Gizzard?
Well, it's going pretty good. Thanks for having me.
And Hillbilly up. How you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks for having me on here. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you being here. Guns and Barbecue.
Good evening.
And G-Webs, Gun Websites. How you doing? Ooh.
Whoa.
I think that was Robot or Fair to Midland.
Yeah, I think you're having technical difficulties there.
That or he's an alien.
Oh.
It
did
could be
sound a
Alien
little
or
bit
Fair to
like that.
Midland.
Hopefully he'll be back here shortly. And pinned at the top of the chat is a link for this week's poll, biggest nope. And to answer Rich White, centipedes were on the original poll, but I took them off just to add something different, and I replaced it with sharks. But so far out there, 2 Live Moo was out there earlier. And Kingpin, Rich White, Sergeant Joe Smith, then Hillbilly and Gizzard. Try it now.
Is that any better?
Oh, that's
a
much
lot
better.
Sounds good.
Yep. Your translator from Alien to English was malfunctioning.
It's actually the bugs that we place in all of your ears. We're off of tune, so we just got them all on the right frequency. Everybody's working now.
Baron SVG's out there. Good evening. And Mr. Bob Dabalina. We left the door open just for you.
You asked us to bring Skibidi toilet toys tonight, so I brought a whole pack of them. That's okay.
Hopefully everybody else brought theirs.
Toilet toys?
You ever heard of Skibidi toilet?
No.
I just thought they made knives.
Has anybody heard of it? Anyone?
I have not.
No. I think it's a kid's thing right now. See if anybody listening has heard of them.
Are they?
Oh, I don't know what it is. I just know that it's a thing. These are the toys from it. This is the Skibidi toilet guy.
Really?
Yeah, it's some kind of YouTube thing. Maybe
I've never.
or maybe it's. I don't know. I think it's for kids though.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, these are like cameraman and speaker man and TV man, and I forget what all the different mans are. I don't know. The kids that our grandparents probably thought, I don't know, Superman was stupid or weird, and then they're like, okay, now we have to do this.
Those like Lithuanian toys, or
No, these are from the United States. Well, I don't know. They're probably made in China, but they're for United States kids. Anyway, I just wanted to see what they were. I bought like 8 sets of these today.
I wonder if those don't show up on certain websites on OnlyFans.
I feel like it should be sent to Ron Wayne for Mini Wayne to fight those guys.
Oh, that's a good idea. I think it's one of those things like a YouTube video goes viral and then it turns into a whole thing. I think, but I'm not saying I know.
At the bottom of the screen, there's a scroll going. It has an email address and a link. Those get you somewhere. You can send in comments, suggestions, or pictures within reason. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Whatever we talk about, agree with, disagree with. I always read the comments, and they are always appreciated. M. Gabriel's out there. He says he's not under Olight mind control. And this week's poll, I guess we can take a look at it. I forgot to do last week's poll, but I remembered this week. No, let me get the right page. There we go. I share that there. Was biggest nope, spiders, rats, hornets, or sharks. And this kind of came out of I lifted up the little access cover so I could turn the sprinklers on. And I always look down in the hole because a lot of times there's spiders down in there. And I didn't look at the cover. When I went to pick the cover back up, I realized that there was a black widow on the underside of the cover. So that was the genesis of this week's poll.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just burn it all down.
Spiders, I don't care about. Bugs or bees, I care less about. Sharks, I'm not afraid of. But rats have the plague, so I picked rats.
I picked sharks.
Well, it's really the fleas that were the issue.
Well, that's a good point. But rats are gross.
I picked the correct answer, which was hornets.
I mean, unless you're allergic, I'm not.
Fight a hornet. It's hard to fight a shark.
I'll
But,
fight the shark.
Hornets is 36%. Sharks was 28%. That finished higher than I expected. Spiders at 21. I thought spiders would be higher up. And rats at 15%. Like I said, I had centipedes in the place of where sharks were, but then I realized there were 3 bugs on there. So I threw in sharks just to mix it up a little bit.
Oh my
Surprised
goodness.
there were no snakes on there.
Oh my goodness. Spiders are not bugs.
Well, technically no, but they're bugs. And looking at the,
Arachnids.
yes, I know. But
I'm not scared of spiders and snakes.
It's I think hornets might have been so high just because people that have allergies to bees.
Yeah. I wonder if you put peanuts on there, how many people would have picked peanuts?
True.
at the Caucasian Sasquatch, he said Jehovah Witnesses.
Yeah.
And the goddamn bacon said only one of those never got a designation as a fighter jet. I'm just saying, which I thought was kind of funny because I didn't think about it. It's true. The rat's the only one that they didn't name a fighter jet after. 2A barbecue, a chef and barbecue. Sharks swam with black tips in the Caribbean, and one turned on a person in the group. He sat in my head for 40 years since. And Shafty said no quicksand. Was asking no quicksand, and I replied that you have to bring your own. We didn't supply any. Hillbilly Up, a 30-pack of hard seltzer. Vandalistica. I'm in Australia. None of these are bigger nopes than white guilt pro-trans vegan anti-gunners. There's a couple of spiders in my house now that would eat that rat. And yes, he is in Australia, and everything in Australia wants to kill you.
Yeah.
And
Hard
Sergeant
pass.
Joe Smith said, can't stand mice or rats. So if you haven't voted in the poll, head over there and vote. Rich White said, where'd it go?
Mhm.
He went with Hornets. I had developed for some reason, all of a sudden, I had developed a fear of Hornets. I still do have that, but it's not near as bad as it was for a while. And I don't know. It just kind of seemed to come on. As a kid, I'd slap him out of the air with my hand, and I had been stung by him, and it was just like kind of like a bee sting, but would throb a little bit more. But being my 30s, it kind of came on. We're just looking at a picture of him, it kind of start making me nervous. I
Oh,
don't
wow.
don't know why, and it's still there, but it's not near what it used to. And it was just like yellow jackets, wasps, or honey, bumblebees, honeybees. That's nothing. Wasps was a little bit, but then hornets, that's.
What about
If
them?
I-
You ever seen a honeybee except that it's giant and black? It's like all black, but it looks like a honeybee and it's super big. Like just makes a lot of noise when it flies around. Do you have those maybe?
Like a bumble. Is it like bumblebee size?
Sounds like
or-
a would be
No.
almost.
Oh, I don't know. They're bigger than a bumblebee, but they look like, fat and short like a
Do
bumblebee.
you always see them like chewing on fences and stuff?
Nah, around here
Oh.
they're like a hummingbird. They'll fly around looking for something and then they leave. Like they're the slowest, fattest bee ever. They're like a blimp of bees, and they just look like a honeybee. I don't think they even have a stinger.
I've
They're
never
just,
seen an all black
They almost
one.
sound like a beetle.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen one like that.
Okay, would you be scared of that though? Like no stinger, just it's fuzzy and big. It's just all black instead of being yellow.
Probably not, because like I said, bumblebees don't bother me at all, or honeybees, and
Now we have it's a hornet, I guess, and it's huge and black. You'd be scared of that one then?
I have seen the giant hornets up close in Japan, and
I don't think
this
that-
was kind of before the hornet thing, but yeah, those are absolutely scary.
Yeah, I'm not scared of that.
With the
So-
summer coming on, I can't believe cicadas didn't make it on here.
Oh no,
We don't have cicadas around
That's
here.
like a beetle.
I think the way they're talking, everybody's going to have cicadas dang near this summer.
I don't know. Let's say if you ride motorcycles at all, cicadas are a son of a gun when they come out. And let's say I thought I busted a finger when I hit one. And let's say, first off, I mean, when I hit it, like I said, I thought I busted a finger, but this yellow goop exploded all over my glove and probably 2 inches or so up past my wrist. It was disgusting. I couldn't believe how much guts are in a cicada.
Just one or like a
Disgusting.
swarm of them?
No, I think it was just one.
Okay, because I drove a pickup truck with my window down one time through a swarm of bees or something, and
Mhm.
that hurt. So I can't imagine something that's like 10 times
Well-
bigger than a bee.
They showed the
I
map of the cicadas. I don't think G-Webs, you or Foss, I don't think they were all the way over towards the West Coast, but something about the Canadian, the northern cicadas and the southern, they're going to meet this year and have like a gang war or something. So something about there's going to be more cicadas than like
There's like two cycles. One's 14 or one's 12 or something, and then they come together every once in a while and have like the ultimate cicada year. So good luck, Kansas and Nebraska. You're gonna all get ate up.
They're a mess. You can't even sleep at night. They're so loud.
Oh yeah, I've lived in years of cicadas. I don't think they're out here. I think they're probably out here, like where there's trees, but in the middle of the desert where it's like palm trees and cactuses, there's nowhere for them to live. So they probably live wherever elevation, has the kind of trees they like. But no, we don't have to deal with that like all night long.
Larry Knopf is out there. Good evening, Larry.
But from what I remember living with them, because I grew up with that kind of stuff happening every couple of years, and you just get used to it. It's like background noise. It's annoying, but you get used to it. It's like living next to a highway or a railroad track or something, right?
M. Gabriel's talking about scorpions. We don't have them up here, and I know G-Webs. We've talked about them before, and you're like, oh, well, we just spray for them. But
I don't spray for them. They
thought-
don't come around here. I'm not scared of scorpions. They're huge. The little tiny scorpions are the worst ones. They're bark scorpions. Unless you go ripping around bark off of trees or something, you ain't gonna find them.
Well, you get stung by one, it'll dang near bring tears to a grown man's eye.
Yeah, but
they hurt.
I mean, I've lived out here since the 90s, and there's the early 90s. I guess I've almost lived here since the 80s, and I mean, unless you go out in the desert and look for them, they're not around. They're occasionally, but not around very much. They're like they're not like a cockroach that wants to be annoying. They I don't know. I'm trying to think of another bug that just doesn't like humans that much. So unless you're out camping and they think you're a log, they don't come into your houses. And I think there are definitely people that spray for them. So I think just about anything that gets rid of ants or cockroaches will get rid of them too.
Yeah. Around here, we'll have them like in basements, concrete, cool areas in the summer.
Larry says he used to trim palm trees and would frequently run into nests of box scorpions.
Oh yeah, I bet you that happens. I think what'll happen too, if you're doing landscaping and stuff, you'll open a box or something and there'll be a bunch of black widows or scorpions living in there.
He's saying in Arizona.
You got black widows. Didn't you have a black widow the other day picture?
Yeah. Don't see them very often.
If I don't do nothing, well, black widows everywhere. You got to go around knocking down the cobwebs or they come around. I think they eat the other spiders. I don't mind them, but they are poisonous, so I don't want to accidentally have one.
Yeah, that's my one big concern is just the kids.
Yeah, the dogs for me. My one dog's an idiot.
Oh,
He'll
no.
probably go up and bite it.
I've seen what Mr.
Yeah.
Bob said out there. When I was 8 years old, I was down just in the woods just behind our house, and I sat down on a log, and a former Yellow Jackets got me. I had over 100 stings on me, and of course, back then, nobody had an EpiPen or nothing. But
Somebody that goes in the lake or rub mud on it.
my mom put me in a bathtub full of Epsom salt, and then they started cutting raw onions and throwing in there and putting them on where I stung. An onion will pull the stinger out and stuff. But then
Really?
I did go to the doctor, and later or as soon as they could, but he said I was lucky, and he said one of two things: you can get stung and it probably won't bother you anymore, but then you could get stung again, and it could kill you. So, but at my age, I've been stung several times. It's never been anything any different than anybody else getting stung.
When we were kids, one time we were hiking around the lake in Scouts, and one friend of ours, or mine, was super allergic to bees, and he's in front of everybody, and he didn't have any idea. No one would know this was going to happen. We're walking around a lake, right? A little trail that goes in and close and kind of away and closer to the lake or whatever. We're coming out of the swampy area, and he's hauling for whatever reason. He's hauling ass, and so he passed this, I guess, nest or whatever, and kept going. But he, pissed them all off, and then we're all walking normal, and I don't know how many of us there were, but the rest of us all got wailed on, like you're saying. I've never had so many stings. I don't remember what they were, probably bugs, bees, whatever. But we all got wailed on. And this was in the 80s, I guess. So they're like, Yeah, rub mud on it or go sit in the lake. That was it. That was our first aid. Like nobody even considered calling a parent or doing anything more than that. But that was super funny that the one guy who would have actually got hurt from it is the guy that started it, and he was, didn't even know it was happening. And then anyway, that's our story. I figure we probably got bee superpowers from that.
I was a camp counselor, high school, and his best hiding spot I ever had was, I kind of crawled under a bush. I backed feet in and realized I was a couple feet away from a hornet's nest, ground hornets, but it was dusk, I think, so they were a little calmer. So every time a kid would kind of get near where I was, they'd see the bees and then run away. So I never got caught.
Good hiding spot, huh? Now,
Yeah.
I will tell people this as truth. If you do have a wasp nest or anything like that, and it's on your eave or wherever it is, and you need to get rid of it, go out at nighttime with the flashlight. They won't come out at dark. You can like kind of knock it down and kill all of them.
Mike McClune got stung by a mud wasp when he was a kid after stepping on a nest in the backyard. Was stung from head to toe. Remember taking a bath in oatmeal and taking Benadryl.
You don't have to go to all that trouble, Hillbilly. You can just, if you've got a problem with any kind of bees, you can just put up a sign that says no bee zone and you're done. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
Very true.
We'll get them on the house. There's 2 peaks on the roof, and always get we'll get wasps there, and on the sides of the house, on the peaks on the sides, we'll get hornets. So I usually, come summer, I'll start watching for them, and I'll put out the hornet traps beginning of summer to try and catch the queens. Because if you can catch the queens while they're still foraging, then you won't get a nest. And
Have
then
you seen the thing where you take like I forgot what they put up there, but they put up something essentially that looks like a hornet nest, and then that's like putting up a scarecrow, like it keeps the other hornets away.
I had a friend that found a hornet's nest out in the woods in the tree. It's wintertime. So it was really cool. He took it home, put it in his house, and just start thawing out hornets come out of the dude inside of his house. He had a whole hornet's nest in his house.
Lordy.
I did that one time when I was a kid once, but I took home not a huge one, but like I thought it was cool. I'm like, look at this cool thing, and then there was still bees in it.
There's in my wife's hometown in Japan, the shrine. They've got a couple hornets nests, but they're like from 100 years ago. Pretty cool to see these huge hornets nests. Yeah, the giant.
They just keep growing and growing on it like a giant apartment
Well,
building.
the ones they had, they're inert,
Oh, okay.
but they're just they were taken down 100 years ago. But the giant hornets, one of the years I saw 2 different hives fighting. There was yellow versus orange, killing each other. And I tried to get pictures of them, but I was too scared to get too close.
That was definitely gang war over colors.
But they're, it's like the size of your thumb.
I was brush hogging one time on some of our property on the tractor and ran over a hornet's nest that was in the ground. And they stung the fire out of me. You can't get away too fast on an old tractor. So anyway, I went back the next day with some gasoline in the truck, and I dumped that gasoline on there, ran, jumped in the truck, shut the door, and they were literally dive bombing the windshield and killing themselves.
Rich White had European hornet's nest behind the house one year. Those were nocturnal. They would swarm his Porsche if they turned on the lights. Son and him sprayed the nest when they had a cool day. If you've got there's a hornet spray now that's it's a foam, which works really good for like ground nests.
That's a pretty good situation, though. If you get a hornet's nest on your Porsche, and then every time you drive around, the hornets just go in there, and then whenever you slow down, the hornets buzz around, so nobody ever wants to give you a ticket.
That's keep the car thieves away.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even need a trunk monkey if you got a bunch of Porsche bees.
I had last year. I talked about it last year. Had a
Yeah.
ground nest in the front yard, and I sprayed it. Tried 7 dusts. And I couldn't get rid of it, so I ended up turning the hose on. Just kind of a little more than a trickle, and left it there all day and drowned them out.
You ever tried ultrasonics repellents, like the things you plug in and just they silently repel bugs?
No,
I've had 6 of them for a while, and then my electric is having issues, so I don't have them, and now I have way more bugs than I ever had, and I don't think it's my head. Like, I don't think I'm just imagining it. So I think those things work. Like the places in my house where they're still on, no flies, no bugs. Wherever
Really?
they're not, tons of bugs. My neighbors have chickens, so I got tons of flies now.
I didn't think from all the reviews that I've read in the past, it didn't seem like they really did anything.
Yeah, I mean, I got them for nothing, right? So I got them for like $1. So I was like, oh, what does it cost me? I'm gonna plug them in. I got like a 6-pack, and I put them, essentially like 2 by each door and window that I leave open. The closest to outlets to them, and they just go in there like a nightlight or whatever. Like I say, it's hard to know, but now that I've had like a, what do you call it, like a test phase here where the one door doesn't have any swarms of bees or bugs. It's just flies and mosquitoes. I mean, I still had mosquitoes, I guess. And I don't know. Like I say, my neighbors have chickens, so maybe they got more chickens, or maybe they poop more. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know what the deal with flies is. But I do know that I bought a thing of fly. What's it called? Some sort of bag that they put out around horses, and you put water in it. It's kind of like an MRE, except it's not. Don't eat it. You open this bag up, and you put water in it, and this little satchel or whatever they call it falls into the water. At first, nothing happens, and after a day, it smells like poop, essentially. And I mean, I've never seen anything attract more flies, and then they go into it, get stuck in the water, and die. So it's just like a half a gallon bag, maybe, that's like 2/3 full with water, and like a zillion dead flies in there.
Yeah, the thing with those, some of those attract more flies. So most usually when you use them around the farm, we put them out away from the animals.
Like on the perimeter. Like I have them on
Yeah.
the perimeter of the yard.
So
Exactly. Well, plus they stink.
yeah,
But I don't have I don't think, except for the dog poop, I guess. But dog poop doesn't really bring flies in. But I don't really have the source of smell. But my neighborhood does. My neighbors do. Well, I don't know. I'm assuming it's my neighbors.
Vulcan Rumbles out there. Had a bumblebee in his house yesterday. Yeah, this year, usually the bumblebees are the first out. We'll see them early spring, but I haven't really seen any bumblebees this year. Because they'll be around the we've got rhododendrons in front of the house. Usually you'll see them all over there in spring. Mike McLuhan is talking about brown recluse spiders. Luckily, we don't have those around here.
He's having a puppy nightmare. Well, no, he quit, I guess. He was having a puppy nightmare. No, he's just snoring. No, he's leaking.
Well, you'd be surprised, like in like our flower garden or in vegetable garden, the wasps, the bees, stuff that'll be around. If you're in there weeding and stuff, really, if you don't mess with them, they don't bother you one bit. They honestly don't. I've never got stung, in the garden. And you like, well, why would you want a wasp in there? Well, believe it or not, wasps are assassins. They kill the bad bugs that you do not want in your garden.
I'd rather have a million wasps than one caterpillar.
Yep.
Well, I'd rather have a caterpillar tractor.
But we'd put out in a deal for the big birds like bluebirds, some of your bigger birds, like larger nuts and stuff, because they will kill like the big caterpillars and stuff to get on your vegetables and eat your vegetables. I mean, that's like a ribeye steak for them. So, and you have to learn like what is your good bugs and what's your bad bugs. And
I had a 67 bug. That was technically it was a bad bug because it broke down every time I drove it. But I still kind of loved it.
Grew up with bugs, but haven't had one ever. I see one. There's like a couple that drive around in Tucson, but
I still have people to this day call me to work on their Volkswagens. You'd be surprised how many people can't set points or, all Volkswagen's such a simple, the older ones, they're such a simple, thing to work on. And yeah, there ain't very many shops that have dwell meters anymore. Used to, like, if you piddled with cars growing up in the past, everybody had a dwell meter.
I wish I had my granddad had one, and so I would use that, borrow it from him. I wish I would have kept it when he died. It probably went to my uncle, but
we got a shop in town that just essentially does the old bugs. So I imagine all the other shops in town, one place, specializes in it. We don't need to.
Have a good night, Rich. He's heading off to bed. I only like pre-Super Beetles. I don't like Super Beetles and anything after that.
I like the buses. Also, I would take a thing also, I guess. And isn't there something else that's sort of like a thing except it's a pickup truck, or am I crazy? Or is it a bus that's a pickup truck? I'm thinking of the bus that's a pickup truck.
Well, or vans or whatever.
They call them a bus though.
Yeah, wasn't that one called like the California one or something that had like the raised roof or something on it or something? Isn't it like a California?
I like the old split window 60s ones. Once you get into the van, van is lit, something, I forget what they call that one, but those are
Vanagons.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Or Vanayalia, something like that. But those are super expensive. But I guess they're like Volvos; they just don't break. My experience is with 70s, and I liked the 60s, but we owned 70s.
I saw a couple days ago it was either a Mustang 2 or a Pinto. I couldn't tell because it didn't have all the fenders on it, but it was a jacked up 4x4. It was kind of like a monster truck with a Mustang 2 body on it.
I dig that.
Wow.
I like hot rods that are 4x4s.
I finished the Dune, the first three, the third Dune book, which I kind of think is maybe the best book. So I'm,
Is there a way then to do like a nutshell or like an elevator speech? Chronological, what's the word? Like summary of all of it then? Well, is it the same families through all the books, or does it just leave those families and move on in time or something?
it's the same. It's the same houses. Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't like I'm thinking of Isaac Asimov Foundation, where it shoots
Oh,
off.
no.
Like the future book shoots off into the future decade or eons into the future.
No, it's if the 80s Dune movie, that's kind of a condensed version of the book. It's the newer ones, movies are real accurate to the book so far. I'm real curious on the second one to see how they treat Paul, because Mohadib is in the third book. He is a really strong character and kind of kicks ass with the way he is. Comes into his own. He's kind of it reminded me a lot of Alexander the Great. Did a lot of things when he was young, So it's, if you have not read the Dune books, it's really good. The audiobooks are on YouTube. So I'm hoping that they don't water down Paul Atreides in the movies. And I'm hoping that the Zendaya, I forget what her name is in the book, her character's name. She's kind of a secondary, almost background character. So I hope they don't add too much to her character.
Dude, I didn't think about that, but that's true. Like, she's barely even in the books or the other movies. I don't know about the books, I guess, but in the other movies, she's like the second biggest character in this movie. Like, all of a sudden, it's a love story.
Yeah, it does seem to be right, because I've only seen the first movie of the new movies, and when she comes in the book, she's kind of forefront for a little while, and then by the third book, she's kind of background. She's still there, and they talk about her, and she shows up now and again, but she doesn't play a huge role in it.
But it's still dude and his mom and his sister.
Yeah.
I guess? Okay.
Yeah.
Is Dune about the planet? Is Dune about the dude? Is Dune about his mom? Or is Dune about somebody else that I don't know?
It's I guess it's about
his mom once in a while, but then it's kind of obviously about him. But that's why I say, like, every once in a while,
it's about Paul, but the Arrakis, the planet, plays a big part. That's where everything's happening, and kind of why everything happens.
You ever heard the story that the whole thing is about oil and blah blah blah? So it's really Dune is either it's capitalism or our petroleum economy or whatever. It's something like that.
I didn't watch the video, but I saw a title for a video that not quite that, but something along that lines. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing the second movie to see how they treat it. Hopefully they stick to the book like they have. Because the first movie is the book. There, some minor changes here and there, like Jason Momoa is terrible. That I thought he was horrible compared to the character in the book. Duncan Idaho.
Are we the only two that care about Dune? Did anybody else watch any of these Dunes?
I'll take that as a no.
Don't overtalk each other. Come on now.
No.
I was going to ask about if you've seen the miniseries version.
No, and I think that's because we kind of talked about that the other day.
Okay.
I know on YouTube there's clips of the Children of Dune, which is one of the later books.
Well, those other movies I'll have to go check and watch. I was just asking about the miniseries because I think in the miniseries, one of the things I like about it is I forget which alien it is, but essentially Dune is about one family who's there's a king or something who owns the whole universe, and then he tells this one family, go to this planet with sand on it and make sure that nobody messes with the drugs that come off of this planet because the drugs are super critical for the whole universe. So go make sure that everything goes according to plan. And then the whole book is about the people on the planet getting sick of this whole shit and running the people off who are stealing all the drugs in the dust, and the worms make this dust, and it's all about these giant worms and blah blah blah. But I forget, there's some aliens that come in at some point to talk to the people in the castle or the big, in every version there's like a castle where the emperor family lives or whatever. So somebody comes in, some aliens come in to meet with whoever. I can't keep track. It's a super long movie, and there's like 3 different versions of this movie already. But in one of them, the aliens are worms inside of like a big, or maybe that's the old movie. Is that the old movie where they're the one aliens are like a worm inside of a big fish tank, and they drag them inside of a fish tank?
I don't know.
Do you remember that part? So then one of the movies or one of the versions of Dune, like the one alien is essentially a giant fat worm, kind of like a whale, but it's a worm. And it's inside a fish tank because obviously everybody else is just walking around in air. So they wheel it in. And I just thought that was super cool for whatever reason. When I was a kid, I thought that was a cool, like, way to make an alien or whatever. But then in other versions of it, it's just a big fat guy. And I'm like, oh man, what a disappointment. It's like that one version of Star Wars somewhere where Jabba the Hutt was just a big fat guy.
Oh yeah, in the fuzzy vest.
Yeah, so it's like, I was just going to ask you about that, but if you haven't seen enough of them, then I'm definitely...
No, I haven't. I'm not sure if that's like some of the book covers will have kind of a worm-looking dude.
Well, some of them have the space angels look like worms, and sometimes they look different. Sometimes you don't see. Dune's all about the giant worms that live on the sand planet, and the worms poop out this spice, and the spice is drugs, but it also is what allows these space angels to shoot people across the galaxy like a time tunnel or something. So it gets all weird and complicated.
Yeah, it's the drug that allows in the first 3 books, it's the drug that allows the navigators to navigate interstellar space.
Is that the angels, or is that somebody who goes to the
there's nobody referred to as angels. They're just navigators.
Oh, maybe one of the things they look like it or something. I thought they referred to it as...
Because that might be in like some of the later books. Because there's the first 3 books, and then later on, his son, Herbert's son, got together with writers and they did like 17 more books. Or I think there's 17 total, something like that. The Saints out there.
I also have a new knife I bought. We could look at. It's a knife from the movie Dune. Just kidding. So what do you think of this finish on here? I don't know what to call it. I think it's
I don't know.
engraved and then painted. Because look how deep it is.
Kind of have mixed feelings. It's kind of neat because it's different, but I don't know.
Well, is Gizzard still awake? I'm not going to
Yeah, I'm awake. Yeah,
Super pointy. What do you think of this?
it's definitely different.
Can you tell what it's doing here, barbecue? Is it like clear enough? It's like, I think they may have lasered. Is that supposed to be rock or is that supposed to be like reptile texture? I don't
Yeah, I
have the
can't-
box or anything.
I
And
can't
it's-
really tell.
It's just called knives. So I don't know what that is. A skull, maybe?
If I was going to design something like that texture, I would do another brick on the wall and just do the bricks.
Right? Make it even a little bit more square. Because I
Yeah.
can't tell what it's supposed to be. I don't know. Maybe it's even supposed to just be rusty or something. And then I don't know what's going on here, but these are definitely not saws.
You fella needs to sharpen them a little bit, doesn't he?
But I really like this grip. It's not rubber, even though it kind of looks like it. It's I think a G10 or maybe plastic even. And then pretty solid full tang or whatever. Put a lanyard on there. It's pretty much it's not really a hammer. Anyway, and then the scabbard is horrible. It's like puff injected nylon stuff. Then it's got this weird shape to it, so it'll go in and then lock. There's nothing in here either. It's like nothing. It's all just nylon. So eventually you're going to put this in here wrong and jab it. You got to wiggle it all in, and then it's just Velcro sewed to nylon. So it's a $40 knife. I think it's also priced at $40. I think I got.
I would not. Well, I wouldn't pay anything for it.
Yeah, I hear that. I paid $15 because I'm dumb and I like to have knives to show off. But
It looks
Figured.
different. I mean, I like it in a way. Yeah.
I like this part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how these are screws instead of just being, bolts or something. So you could actually take it apart if you had to. And I kind of like how those holes could make like a spear. But I guess for 15, I'm like, crackle. Yeah, right. Is that what you'd call that? I should zap it and see what they call it. I think it is on Amazon. That's how I knew it was $40. But I just quickly looked at it at the store. I mean, it's definitely well made. No matter what it looks like, it's going to work. And it's super sharp. Like, this is hurting. If I would slip or whatever, I'm cutting myself and jabbing myself. That's all I got. I do have another one, but it's outside. Crap, I didn't put it in here backwards.
Oh, the bearded guy's out there. Thing. Has been a while. Yeah, after it was probably last Wednesday. We were talking about knives again. And I ended up looking on. I found a website, I think it's like Bud K, and they have scratch and dent. So it's
Uh-oh.
they've got 3 different choices, and it's a random pick, but there's 3 random picks. They have swords. It's like 49, so 39 or $49, and you get 3 randomly picked swords. 29 for fixed blades, 3 random fixed blades, and then like 19, might have been even less than that for folders, for folding blades. But all of the folding blades I saw were kind of the really crappy gas station looking ones. And I had I was going to get a set of swords and fixed blades. And ended up wandering around the internet a little more, and I bought something else from somewhere else. So, which I should get tomorrow in the mail.
I've definitely bought a bunch of stuff from Bud K, but I'm not going to go around acting real proud of it. It's not good stuff usually, but it's not expensive.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be much, but for the price, and you get 3 of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought I was buying a staff with a spear point on it. And it does, and it's that Pakistan kind of stamped, kind of chromed, almost what you'd use as like do they call it a presentation, or what do they call that? A demonstration, I guess. Like a demo sword or weapon to like flash around and tie some ribbons on it or whatever. I thought it was gonna be something like that. And it's like if you took a broomstick and cut it in half and then put a spear tip on it. I'm like, what the hell is it supposed to do with this? Like a little dinky piece of wood. I guess it's to shave on shipping or something, but it's not like you could take the thing off and put a normal size, broomstick on there. So I was kind of disappointed in that. And once I went back and looked at the picture, I'm like, oh, I guess I thought it was like an angle or something, but in reality, it was just this little dinky handle on there.
Bearded Guy's asking, what do I think about Gerber knives? I think I've owned one Gerber knife, and I bought it off eBay, not eBay, Amazon, but it had a nick in the blade, so I returned it. And I think I have a Gerber multi-tool that I was using for fishing, so it's probably with my fishing stuff. So I don't have a lot of experience with the Gerbers. I do want a Gerber strong arm, but I just haven't wanted to pay as much as they are.
Is that one I just got?
Yeah.
Oh, I think we can work something out, dude.
Because there's 2 versions. There's one with serrations and then one without. And I'm not into serrations. I know the upside of serrations, but I'm just not a fan of them. The look of them.
So you got me looking on Bud K. So after there was Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I grew up with Smoky Mountain Knife Works going there, and then getting this big giant newspaper catalog that they made for a long time. And then I don't know, I either moved or I don't know what happened. I just thought Smoky Mountain Knife Works went away, I guess, because then Bud K catalog came out, and it's more like a magazine. Like it was 8.5 by 11, like looking at a Radio Shack catalog or something. But it was all full of knives. So I've ordered a lot from Bud K. When you started saying that you went to Bud K and then looked at their closeout or their whatever cheap stuff, it's an inexpensive place. And when you look at their cheap stuff, like it can get dangerous because it's like, oh, that's only $7. Oh, it's only $3. Oh, it's only $12. Or you know what? You're like, oh, dang, I'm up to 180. But I just put a link to one in there. What do you think of that one? I kind of like this one. I don't like 100% of it, but I kind of dig what they're doing there. I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened. But
I couldn't be trusted. They have way too many cool looking swords. And I think of swords as like decoration. Like, why not have a bunch of cool looking swords on the wall?
When I had everything in my cart and then saw the price, it's like, well, I don't know if I want to spend this much for stuff that I know is not going to be that good. And then started poking around other sites and found something different that I bought and spent more on one item than I would have for 6 items. It's interesting. I wouldn't buy it.
It's kind of truck stoppy, but I just kind of think it's a neat. I've never seen anybody do that.
That is cool looking, though.
For $13.
Yeah, I mean, they don't think it's something fancy or something special. They're charging appropriately for it. And I don't think it's a folder, or is it? Oh, no, it says assisted opening, so it is, yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
I kind of like it even more now. What if they did something like that, but incorporated real links? Not necessarily moving, but like that wouldn't be Damascus, but smashed them all together and it would be real links. Would that improve it or no?
Oh, I think it would. Just kind of curious on if it. They got a sickle for $50. I was curious on if they said what kind of steel, but it's probably the 7CR MOV USE.
I bought a sickle at a swap meet one time, and it was super sharp. It was super cool. I don't know where it is anymore. Maybe I don't know what happened to it. It wasn't. It was kind of like that. It wasn't a real giant sickle. It was one you'd use in your backyard instead of like in a field doing hay. It was pretty neat.
I swear, you guys are going to get me in trouble every time we start talking about knives, and I start looking at knives. And
How about a Kukuri? You ever had one of them?
I don't have one, and I've almost bought the Civivi one a couple times with
that's
the
kinda cool.
natural color scales, the jade scales.
Are you talking a fixed blade or a folder?
No, fixed blade.
Yeah, okay. I got a set that were made for a backyard for doing like is a machete for like doing yard work. So they were just sheet metal stamped and then sharpened, and then they cut some holes in it, either to look cool or maybe to so you don't get it stuck and stuff so much. And they just have plastic handles on them, and they might have been $13 if they were $9 to $13. Like they were the kind of thing that you would not even think about paying for. Like they weren't expensive whenever. And those things have been so awesome for so long. Like, and I've seen really nice ones, and I've thought about getting nice ones, but then I would never use a nice one. But I've taken these things out and just, you know what a panhandle cactus is? Kind of, or like a prickly pear, like the kind of, I don't know, they're kind of round and they just kind of stack on each other. Those have spikes, but they're kind of like hacking through a pineapple, and they grow like weeds. There'll be years where they just decide, no, I'm growing. I'm going to be like 10 times bigger in 6 months. So they just grow really fast sometimes. And especially if you don't pay attention to them for a couple of years. And it's like hacking a bunch of, somewhere between an apple and a pineapple. Imagine having something that's as big around as a tree that you're hacking into. So it's possible with a machete, but it takes a while. And those things were thin and super strong and sharp enough to, in that curve and everything. Anyway, I'm super impressed with them. I mean, I totally know why they would be used in that shape of a knife as a machete. I don't know if you guys have used them before.
But this is on the Bud K. This is what I was looking at, and I was going to get one of the sword packs and the Bowie knife packs.
See, if it gave you some idea, because some of their swords are stupid, and there's no way I even want with some of their dumb ones.
Yeah,
Dumb stuff.
I looked up. I looked on YouTube to see what people had gotten.
Dude, you can get a dozen throwing stars for $10 there right now.
And
the little tiny ones.
Some people had gotten like sword canes, and I don't really want a sword cane.
Yeah,
Cane
exactly.
sword or whatever.
Or like, you know how many of the Civil War swords I have now? Like, I don't even want another one of them. You know, not actually from the Civil War, but like whatever that style is. I think it's like a French style. Or just one of them goofy truck stop, fantasy looking things. They make a knife out of an A10's 30 millimeter round. That's like as big as a baseball bat almost. Or a small baseball bat. They took a 1918 trench knife with the brass knuckles kind of handle and stuck it on a Kukuri. You seen that one?
No.
Yeah, I didn't need to see this. Luckily, well, it doesn't look that bad. I would think of, if I got this one, I would take a Dremel tool to it. I don't care what anybody says. I would curve up that handle with a Dremel tool, make it more realistic.
Sounds like it might be a little awkward. Let's take a look here.
Well, I don't think. Well, I mean, it would
Well,
hurt your
it-
hands a lot if you
I was-
actually. used it.
I thought it would the one with the it doesn't have spikes like I was expecting on the knuckles.
Yeah, you're really not using that as brass knuckles much. But if you had to fight with it, I guess you're not hurting your hands either.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's that one. And then would you take that one or this one? Either or situation. They're similar. Neither one has woken up the puppy, by the way.
Ooh,
Oh, you don't
I
like
would
that?
lean towards that other one.
This one looks science
rather-
fiction looking.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of this one? I should probably just send you pictures of the or links to the picture instead of the whole thing.
Yeah, I probably would not buy this one. Well, I definitely would not buy this one. But
I don't love the handle, but I like that machete cleaver looking hybrid thing.
have a good night. Bearded guy's going back to bed.
Maybe we could talk about the knives of Dune, and that'll get everybody excited.
The Saints said CRKT is not bad either. I don't have a CRKT. I've looked at them, but have never bought one.
I don't even know.
I
how
have
many
one.
I have many. But they're like a, what do they call that? Like a co-op. Like they have so many designers. You do like a, I think they have probably more designers than anybody else. I know Spyderco has a lot of designers.
Yeah, CRKT does work with a lot of designers, that's for sure.
Larry said he was gifted a kukri knife from Indonesia while in the military, but had to leave it at unit when he left.
Oh, that's lame. But that's cool though. I've heard of that kind of stuff though, where you get it and then you sort of like leave it on the little history wall.
Vulcan Rumble has a favorite cheese knife he's very fond of.
You know, that's what I was kind of thinking of with that chain one. If there's a way to kind of have one of those made as like a, you know, like your fancy cheese or what do they call that? Like when you have a cutting board. But if you're going to have like people, you know, cutting their own cheese for like a party or something, have a fancy knife like that.
I've decided to actually start testing some of the pocket knives that I review every month. So I'm actually cutting apples with them and stuff like that, and just seeing how useful they are for everyday tasks and stuff like that. So
That can be useful because sometimes the blades are so thick that they're pointless, or like the
Yeah.
curve of the blade is useless, or it's like, you know what, this looks cool, but it does not, you know, it's just hard to hold on to it.
yeah, I've already been surprised by one of them. Looked like to me it'd be really sharp and go through an apple good, but really it's not nearly as easy to cut with as one of the others. So it's
I
not
think that
exactly-
that chain one, if it was Damascus with a chain pattern in it, would be cool.
As I was thinking, like smashing it down or something so that it's
Yeah.
not so much, I don't know what it is now, like carved in there.
Larry said that the kukri had a wooden handle and a wooden sheath.
That's how the real ones were, I think. The two little knives in them all the time.
I've got a wooden sheath for my Japanese kitchen knife. It's a Santoku blade, and it's got the wooden sheath, and then there's when you slide it in, there's a pin that sits right behind the heel to hold it in place. A wood peg that goes through the sheath.
Did you see their assassin battle box?
No.
It's so dumb. Why would they come? Why would they even do this?
Well, fellers, I'm gonna jump. I gotta jump off here. I go get some beauty sleep. Lord knows I need it. So I appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate you jumping in, Hillbilly.
Take it
Anything
easy.
you want to plug before you take off?
No. We just got Guns, Beer, and Therapy Saturday nights. So ain't doing nothing. Jump over and visit us. Be happy to have everybody. And anyway, I appreciate y'all. You have a great evening.
Yeah, me too.
See you, Hillbilly.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,
That star looks cool. Everything else is weird.
it's a truncheon flashlight.
They're like, you know, it would be cool. Let's take a rifle case. Let's fill it up with a bunch of weird looking guns or weird bunch of knives, and then let's call it the assassin set.
Yeah.
I do like that big fat throwing star, so I went to look how much it is. How much do you think that is?
I don't know, $30.
No, not that bad. 20, 18,
Yeah.
99. I've never seen one that big and fat, so I want one. No. It would be cool
Well,
if Amazon let us.
They can't ship to New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Wisconsin, PA, Massachusetts, Michigan, or Hawaii.
That way they don't have to worry about assassins in those states. Yeah, I closed Bud K. I can't look at it. What kind of bracket are we doing today?
We can't do a bracket. The number 3 cylinder has scoring in it, so I'm getting a little oil blow by. So I need to rehone that cylinder before we can do a bracket. Let me close. I'm looking at their website now. But yeah, that happens every time we talk about knives. I ended up looking at knives, and I was told I don't need any more knives. I have enough.
Can never have enough.
I hate the term need.
And I was told that basically, if I continue needlessly buying knives, I won't get to play with my friends anymore.
Well,
I feel like we should all buy pasta knife.
You already did buy me one. It's here somewhere. I've got the sheath for it.
But like everybody watching, just like that way we can just flood your place with knives. And when your wife sees it all, like, what did I say? And then you'd be like, they sent them to me.
I was gonna say I got all kinds of knives here. Yeah, we could look at these.
The thing is, we'd have to organize this secretly because FOSS would never allow this.
We got automatic. We got OTFs here. If you want those kind of cool knives. Oh man, micarta thumb flipper. Ooh, look at that knife. Yeah, big, heavy. Meaning now, if you like stars, you like stars, right? You like space stuff. So we've got this one here. Look at that. Space age, man.
Am I in the future?
Yes, you are. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, you need this, Foss. Look at it. Just look at it. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. And it's a button lock. Ooh. Yeah, you need that, definitely.
I've got my huge, big one, which I still really like this one. The Ned Foss. And I've got my throwing knives. Got a rubber knife. Got my two Smith & Wesson daggers here. And the rest are on the table over there.
I've got this knife that this guy named DM Foss sent me just a few days ago, too. Look at that.
Oh, dang.
That cool.
I still have one. Yeah, I still have one more to give away. Those are
Wow.
It's pretty
Those were-
cool.
provided by X Adam One. Was kind enough to send 3 of those to me to give away. Yeah, when you messaged me, said the knife showed up, I'm like, what the hell knife is he talking about? I forgot I sent you a knife.
You did. Nice. A man can never have too many knives. If you get too many for your desk, then you got to get a cabinet that you stick in your closet like that. Put your extra knives in there. And yes, that's a jar of peanut butter sitting on my table. Don't judge me. The Gorn are eating it. That's why it's in front of them like that. Little known fact, Gorn love peanut butter.
That's how you trap them. You put out peanut butter.
It's got to be natural peanut butter like this Smucker's natural peanut butter. They don't like the additives and stuff like that.
That's
on
my
their
kind
planet.
of
On their planet, there are no such things. So. Yeah, it'll definitely entrap them.
The Gorn have a territory, just like the Klingons and the Federation. If I recall, it's not as large as the other ones, but they do have their own section of the universe.
And they like wearing zipper pulls around their neck too. Bet you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Things you learn by keeping them in your house for a while. They tend to take things that don't belong to them, appropriate them for their own use.
Is that when they're not throwing rocks at you, they're stealing your stuff?
Yeah. They also tend to hang around with baby Yodas too. There's one of them over here too.
Well, that's why they're throwing rocks at you. Those baby Yodas are a bad influence.
And unbeknownst to many people, when the Gorn are when they're young, their heads are bigger than when they become full adults. See, it's kind of a weird physiological thing with them.
Well, it's like any kid, they grow into it.
Mm-hmm. And they like chickens too. Well, I'm not as bad as Never Enough Ammo. I don't have that many figures to play with behind me, but I have a few. Oh, there's far more over there, but
Matt started with one.
I've been given so many different chicken figures. I've got a bunch of them over there.
Oh, I know there was something else I was going to talk about tonight, and like always, I have forgotten what it was.
Something about politics, food, music, movies,
Pizza.
Oh, I have been watching
technology.
watched a bunch of videos today about not auto tuning, but I forget the term for it. It's kind of like auto tuning, but not kind of modern music where they pitch correction. I think it is. So they'll just do little adjustments instead of, like wiping the whole thing to get it into whatever key they want. And they'll take like TV show performances, stuff that was maybe done live and then or with a live studio audience. But when it's shown, when they broadcast it, it's already been touched up. They did Kelly Clarkson compared her singing Over the Rainbow to what's her face?
Judy Garland?
Julie Garland. Yeah, Judy Garland singing it. And I don't know, I kind of all the music does it now. They touch up everything and it's kind of music is kind of losing its soul.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
And
I don't want my performers to be perfect. I want my performers to perform in front of me. If they're a little off, they're a little off.
well, they looked at the Eagles concert from 22. It's either 22 and 23 or 23 and this year.
I saw that video where they analyzed the vocal tracks and found them to be identical. So they're singing the backing tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a bunch of his videos today. Wings of Pegasus, I think.
That's
his
it.
channel.
Oh, speaking of that, didn't you send me a link to that one video? I don't know if you want to talk about that. It's not what you're just talking about, though.
I don't know. I don't know what I sent you.
Essentially you sent me. Yeah, you sent me was it the history of karate?
Oh, the Budo, the Art of Killing. That one?
Okay, you sent me that, and it was essentially, it was an exploration of different types of Aikidos, right? No.
No, it did karate, judo, sumo.
But they were like sumo Joe. What is it? Toe? Aikido. So it's judo
Aikido.
do and karate do and
Yeah.
everything's do. But anyway, so yeah, that I don't know, it's off topic. We should just talk about. But then when that ended, it took me to a thing that was pretty neat about the history of the origin of karate in Japan from China.
Mm.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I have an old book talks about that.
So you sent me that video. I don't know if anybody else knows what we're talking about. It's some video from the 80s, 70s, maybe.
Something like
That's
that.
sort of kind of breaks down the different types of, open, well, not just open hand, but a different kind of, hand-to-hand fighting, all those different kind of things, karate and judo and everything. And
78. It's from 78.
and it was on YouTube. So you sent me like a link to it, watch it on YouTube or whatever. Did you look at any of the comments on there?
No.
So it's, from the 70s and it's a movie. So it was probably on VHS or something, but, it was a movie. So they edited it like a movie or whatever. And for whatever reason, they cut like 1 billion times in that movie to somebody chopping bamboo in one way or another with a sword. Like 1,000 times there's like a cut to somebody chopping a piece of bamboo or the reeds made out of rice husks or whatever.
Yeah, that was a way of they'll wrap the tatami mat because it's similar to cutting through a body part.
Yeah, they said, well, anyways, but the thing is, it's just a thing of the movie where every time they transition, it's like, there's this guy and he'll be chopping a piece of bamboo in a forest or that mat. And somewhere in the comments, somebody goes, I had no idea that they hated bamboo so much. Because it's just, as soon as I read that, I'm like, dang, they do chop bamboo like constantly in this movie. But I never knew that they take, when they cut the rice, they make rice, right? They grow rice, I should say.
Yeah.
And then once they've smashed the rice out of it, they got those husks left over, the stalks, whatever you call it, rice, the grass part of the rice. And then they bundle all that up. And what they say, they let it soak for a certain amount of time, and then they dry it out, and then they bundle it. And then you soak it in water after it's bundled, and it's the same, whatever the word would be, as going like for a sword. It's when somebody's cutting one of those mats, that's the same as a neck, a human neck. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know it was like I just thought they were doing it because it didn't hurt the sword, like it was like chopping a brick. Like I was like, oh, okay, just a thing you can use. Maybe they're cheap or easy, but it has to do with if you can chop through that, that's the same as chopping somebody's head off, essentially.
Yeah, way back when they would just use condemned prisoners or dead bodies. But it's a good video to look at traditional karate styles. Or martial arts. Japanese martial arts. I've got the DVD.
But it's pretty good. It's a breakdown of like the development and where it all comes from, or where chunks of it come from. So then, you ever looked at, so when I was saying, like I said, when I watched it, the next thing that came up was some guy that went from Japan over to China, or did he go from Japan to Okinawa to China? Because karate started in Okinawa, and what was it? They knew that it came from China, quote, but that's it. So he goes to China to try to find out where it came from, and like went all around and learned the different types of kung fu that it could have come from, and then that it came from crane style, and then, or no, actually whooping crane style, and then because there's different crane styles, I guess, and then one called incense store style. You ever heard of
that? What?
It's called incense store. Like incense that you would
No.
light off in the room or whatever. I guess he heard of it or whatever, and then he goes through and he learns more about it, and he learns more about it, and then they say that what happened was people from Japan went to China to learn how to do this karate or whatever, or kung fu, and then they brought it back to Okinawa, or maybe it was somebody from China went to Okinawa, and then he needed to teach it somewhere, so he taught it at a place that was selling incense, and then anyway, that was the key. That was like oh wow, that's why they call it incense style, and the reason they call it incense style is because everybody referred to it as that because it was whatever. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it's mainstream or what. It was a video that came out, I think, in the last year. Like some guy went over there and put this video together. He's some channel that's a martial arts channel that's into karate, and he does really highly produced videos. Probably can't find it because I watched it on my machine that isn't logged into YouTube, so it doesn't have any kind of history.
Is it a white dude that's kind of slender?
Huh? Well, he's not fat or nothing.
No, I know it, but he's not real muscly.
No, not at all. No, he's just
I think I've seen some of his other videos where he'll go to different styles and then work out with them. And
definitely, and that's the thing is he goes to China and he just starts hanging out with people, and because he's cool, people start teaching him constantly, and he's like, oh, very appreciative, like thank you very much, like and he's learning all kinds of stuff from everybody. It's super cool to watch. I don't even know. It just was the next video that came on, and I was about to turn it off, and I'm like, huh. I ended up watching the whole thing. It was like an hour or something long. But it was well made. It was like definitely somebody that went to school for, making good videos or whatever. Put some time into it, and then they went to China, so there was plenty of good stuff to edit. Plus, I just think that stuff is interesting.
As Buddhism kind of came in through Okinawa, then the Kung Fu came with them, and then they moved after it kind of got established and started to change. Then it was demonstrated at the Budokan. Budokai in Japan, mainland Japan, and then kind of spread. Just a real quick thumbnail sketch of.
When you think about it, that isn't all that much different than trying to say Jeff Cooper created blah 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 gun sight, and then so many years later, his disciples Masada Ayub and Farnham and Clint Smith, did their teachings and their, if you're thinking of handgun defensive use at gun sight with Cooper, the guy that invented the 4 safety rules and the color code of awareness and all that. And then you think of Clint Smith, Marine, using a rifle at Thunder Ranch, right? He was an instructor at Gunsight, so he comes from Cooper, but he's teaching carbine, right? So same kind of mindset, but different apparatus, right? Different mechanism, different style. That's got to be similar to how karates and kung fu's and all that came around, right? And how it developed. And was at one point Cooper was, this was the way you do it. This is the ultimate, the guy who's been thinking about it and the guy who's had the most experience. And now people are like, well, Cooper, he kind of knew what he was doing at the time, but here's what we do now with the laws the way they are. And here's what we do now when there's better guns. Here's what we do now that there's 1 billion trainers, and that was, you could have said that in the 90s. And then we have, everybody has concealed carry, manufacturers make new guns, the 9mm fad and all these stupid guns. And then you could say again, like, what's training, right? Like, is it what Cooper did? No, the fundamentals are from Cooper, but now you have little tiny guns that have 30 rounds in them and you could wear it on your ankle, so you're going to have to, you have women carrying all around in different ways. Like, you're not going to just draw from a garment, like cover garment, like Cooper would have done. So, it's not martial arts, but it is, and it's developing because all those different factors, right? Like time and the number of people involved, and then what was martial arts? You got somebody who can devote their whole life as a monk learning martial arts, fighting other people who are really good at martial arts, and then they get really good fighting each other. But then you got little old lady who just needs to defend herself, so she's going to learn a martial art that lets her defend herself from whatever bad person trying to mug her or whatever. So it's just really the development of whatever you want to call this, like instruction of defense, personal defense. How different is it from what we're talking about? Kung Fu turning into karate, Jeff Cooper turning into whatever the modern equivalent is. Let's say anyway, any of the pick girl and a gun, the 1,000 ladies getting together in Colorado for 5 days of different instructors giving them instruction on different things, so day and night different from Cooper. Same way that Kung Fu is different than Taekwondo or something.
And there's people that will say everything came from India. So it originated in India and then went to China.
Really?
But then there's some that'll take it back farther to the Greeks, to where
What? How can Greeks be
because the
India?
Greeks were conquerors and moved into India. They brought it to India. India brought it to China, then to Japan.
I find that weird. How can anything? What did Greek ever do that was anywhere near Kung Fu?
Well, like the hoplites and the wrestling, the Greek wrestling.
Yeah, they just wrestle each other and then sword fight each other.
Yeah, so it's like judo, basically like judo. Barbecue, that's more your territory there, the wrestling part.
Greco-Roman, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, you still got Greco-Roman wrestling today. I mean, the Olympics are coming up. So, but how that develops into karate, that's a tough one.
Well, it wouldn't be like a direct descendant, from start to end. It's changed a little bit by everybody it touches. So everybody adds a little bit, takes what comes to them and then adds their little flavor to it. And then it passes on to the next and then changes a little more.
Yeah. I was just thinking, but I was thinking more the ground grappling with the karate, or not with karate, but with the Greco-Roman. But I reckon, when you're in neutral position and you're looking to throw each other, things like that, that would eventually translate into, greater progression down the line. I could see.
That's you, G-Webs, I think.
Yeah, geez, Alien Translator's broken again.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll be back here shortly. As Budget Guns and Gear would say, some technical diddlies.
Is that any better?
Yep. That fixed it.
I was just going to say, when you're teaching them kids to wrestle, because if I had to wrestle when I was in high school or something, or whenever it is when you're in school like that, I did it for whatever weeks we had to do it, and I never paid attention to it again, so I'm just not familiar with it. Do little kids think of it like chess or, like strategy, or they think of it like, I guess like a fight, just like who's bigger and who's stronger? Is it like
The 5 and 6 year olds, 7, 8 year olds, they're definitely just like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm, learning. Now, when you get into some of the 9 and 10 year olds that are getting a good grasp of the sport, and are state level wrestlers, things like that, you can definitely tell that they're a bit more of a tactician on the mats. But even still, at the end of the day, you can go in with a plan, but that all goes to crap as soon as the match starts, because you could plan on doing something, and if your opponent does something that is just out of the ordinary for them, then it's all shot to hell at that point. So
does it turn into like, this kid doesn't know how to do something with his left hand or whatever, like, so be sure to swipe his left hand or whatever? Is it that kind of
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you can scout matches and notice like, oh snap, that kid did a leg scissors to the body. Like, you don't ever see that. Like, hey, be careful if you end up on bottom. You need to be trying to do a stand up real quick if he gets that locked in or something, or hey, that kid wears a knee pad on their right knee, and if you notice, they're always shooting with their right leg. They never take a shot with their left. So circle left, or well, circle right. That way you're circling towards their left knee, and it's going to make it harder for them to set up their shot. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do and scout and pick up on.
Carolina EDC reviews and Vanessa Kitty's out there.
That's one of the things I actually harp on my oldest daughter about, because she'll be like, I'm going to take some shots. I'm like, so why do you need a knee pad? She's like, because I'm going to take some shots. I'm like, well, you better be putting on 2. She's like, no, I just need the 1. I was like, and you're going to telegraph it. And then I smack her upside the head and tell her to use her head. I was like, if you want to wear knee pads, fine, wear knee pads. It's like, but you better wear 2. I was like, wearing 1 like that telegraphs it every friggin' time. I was like, especially when you don't wear them every match.
Does anybody wear it on the wrong leg to fuck with people?
Some people wear them just to have a little bit of extra support, because they don't want to wear an actual knee brace. Because I mean, you can't wear like one of those what is it, DonJoy braces that has like metal in it and stuff like that. So I mean, you can get like a knee brace that is really flexible and will help give you support, but it only does so much. So then adding in a knee pad or something like that helps give that much more. Plus, then if you were having knee problems, it could cushion it. So it's not always a matter of, oh, they just like to shoot with that leg. Sometimes it could be a matter of picking up on like, oh, hey, just talk to so and so, and they said that that person injured that leg 3 weeks ago at a tournament, or I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, heck, I mean, it could get so nitpicky. You could see a kid every weekend, and they'll wear the same socks every weekend. But then one weekend they're wearing different ones, and you go up, talk to them. Hey, what's with the different socks or something? Just trying something new. Lucky socks. And uh, and like a lot of the kids, like, yeah, they're battling against each other, but they're familiar with each other enough too to, shoot the shit. And the ones that are really smart about it, they'll dig in and get little things like that, and their kids, a lot of times they won't even pick up on it. And so they'll be like, oh yeah, these are my lucky socks. Oh, okay, cool. So for some reason, these are lucky socks that he never ever wears any other time. So either he's feeling really good today, or there's something special going on where he's like, I need these. So, you know, perhaps his headspace is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to have to wrestle him a little bit different. Like I said, there's so many ridiculous little things that you can analyze if you wanted.
This is through school or through like intramurals or whatever it's called, like Little League.
Yeah, intramural. Let's say, but once you get into junior high and high school and all that, I mean, same deal.
So then, like, I'm only familiar with school stuff. So if there's, I don't know, I'm assuming the schools fight each other. How much of it is the
to the death.
kids? How much of it is the kids being good versus having a bunch of kids that have a good coach that knows stuff to, make better kids?
It's a combination of both. Like we've got a lot of really good wrestlers on our team right now, and then they get to junior high and high school, and they just seem to fall apart. And it's because there is no legacy at our school. And I say legacy, so the school that my daughters went to before, in the same school district nonetheless, I think in the last probably 40 or 50 years, they've only had 2 wrestling coaches. They had Nowakowski, who actually coached my uncles, and then and he actually coached the current wrestling coach. And then after Nowakowski stepped down, um, what's his face became the head coach, and just kept that legacy going. This is how we're supposed to wrestle at this school. This is how we do it. And they turn out kids that are getting full rides to college every year. At least 1 or 2 kids every year getting a full ride to college. And then you look at our school, like I said, same school district. It's rural, just like the other one. There really isn't a reason that we shouldn't be doing the same thing until you look at the coaching. And it's not the coaching at the lower level where we are right now, because like I said, we've got a lot of really, really good wrestlers. But then you get to junior high and high school, and that legacy isn't there. That standard of this is how we do it. This is how you're supposed to be. Instead, here it's a matter of, oh well, my kid is a freshman this year, and the varsity coach position is open, so I'm going to be a varsity coach for the next 4 years while my kid wrestles. And then that person steps down and goes away, and somebody else fills in. And like my daughter was telling me that they're not allowed to do stand-ups, which is a way to escape from the bottom position. One of the probably most common ways. And she told me they weren't allowed to do stand-ups this year. She was in 7th grade, and I was like, what? And one reason I said what is because that was one of her most effective moves. She has a great stand up. And when she told me that, I was like, why? And she said, oh, coach said that it's too easy for people to get cradled. And my head about exploded. Because, yes, you can get cradled if you're doing a stand up, but you're normally wrestling heavyweight and you're just a giant blob of 285 pounds of fat. And when you go to do a stand up, it's very slow and lethargic. And when I wrestled, I cradled several guys that were like that. But if you're quick, you don't have enough time to cradle somebody. It's not going to happen. But for some reason, due to coaching, there is an entire group of seventh, 8th, and 9th graders right now that are being told they're not allowed to do stand-ups because it's too easy to get cradled. So now they're going to go into their freshman seasons and so on, not having done stand-ups for at least 2 seasons. And that's a huge disadvantage.
Well, everybody else knows that they don't, and everybody else does them.
Exactly.
And so now, I don't even know nothing about wrestling. I can see why that doesn't sound good.
And now you leave yourself to do a switch or a sit out for your escape. And it just takes something out of the arsenal. So, and like I said, again, we've got a lot of great little wrestlers. My daughter, 5th in the state last year. This year she got smoked at states. And
well, it's just me. You're the comparing however you want, but I don't think you should let her smoke.
Right. Let's say, unfortunately, her mother controls everything. Let's say, it's a son of a gun. No, but she got absolutely dusted, and part of that was due to how she was coached this year at junior high, and like there'd just be things like, I was coaching her for the qualifier because the junior high coaches wouldn't coach for states for her.
Is there like a state department of wrestling that pays attention to whatever rules and paying attention to who fights who and all that kind of stuff? Like, would they look at something like this and go, we get people that are super good in little kid school, and then they go into junior high and they all suck. So essentially we're dropping these kids off a cliff. Isn't there some state level thing aware of that?
No, that's up to your school's athletic director. And unfortunately, again, like I said,
what about the high schools that get fed by the junior highs? Wouldn't they know?
Well, that's the problem. It's the same deal. So you might have a junior high coach right now that's just waiting for the varsity position to open up so he can coach his son at varsity. And then once his son's done on varsity, he's done. So it's just a revolving door at this one. Like at Sagertown, it was from the top down, you knew what to expect. From varsity to junior high to the intramural sign-up league, you knew what to expect, and everything. While there was a little bit of butting heads going on here and there because people are going to have their own ideas, things like that, it's going to happen. But overall, everything was very cohesive. Here, junior high is its thing, varsity is its thing, the intramural is its own thing, and nothing is cohesive. Everybody's button heads from group to group and boosters to boosters, and it's a nightmare. And unfortunately, there's nobody that is willing to step up and go, yeah, I want to be the varsity coach and I want to fix things from the top to the bottom. And this is what we need to expect. And when somebody does try and do it, then they get too much resistance and they just say, screw it. I'm doing my, time for my kid to wrestle, then I'm out of here.
Gizzard Gary, if you're still awake,
Yes.
is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, let's see. Got a new knife I'm going to review here in the next couple days from a company called Vosteed. So should be a video on that here shortly. Daily shorts, knife shorts, and Foul Territory Friday night at 9:00 p.m. Appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being here. Barbecue.
Mr.
You got
Foss.
anything in the works there?
Well, there's actually a series that I had told you and Gary that I was thinking about doing. Wanted to start at least filming I guess just a video explaining like, hey, this is series that's going to be starting on my channel. If you're interested, stay tuned. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, all that fun jazz. But weather has not been cooperating because I would like to get outside and film that rather than sitting in the office doing it. So waiting for the weather to break so I can go out, film that, and start with that series. But other than that, that's all. So hopefully soon I'll be putting out some more content.
Hopefully. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you for the invite.
G-Webs, I think, is having more technical difficulties. So I just like to say thank you to everybody that was out in the live chat. And if you're out there and didn't say anything, I do appreciate you too. Don't be afraid to speak up. Let me know that you're out there. If you watch us in replay, once again, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with? What's your favorite wrestling move? I read all the comments. They are always appreciated. And in the description, there is a link for the Gilded server, place to hang out, chit chat. You can get a hold of me there. And pretty much anybody else that comes on the panel, you can get a hold of them through Gilded too. Oh, he's back. We're just wrapping up here. So let me play this first.
HereWebsites.com for 2A stickers, patches, books, logo design, web design, 3D printing, technology consulting, and so much more. HereWebsites.com.
Anything you want to plug, G-Webs, before we put this one to bed?
Trying to plug this snore hole, but I don't know which one it is. Thanks for hosting.
Well, thanks for being here. And I hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do something good.